What's up, guys? Joe Madden here of Picks and Parlays, coming at you with some Saturday college football action. We got 3 games we're going to go over here, and as we go over these games, make sure you do head on over to picksandparlays.com. Open up that odds screen, best odds screen around, so you get the best of those numbers. Also, while you're there, if you're looking for more free pick videos, you will find them there. And over on YouTube, do me a solid, you guys. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and hit that notification button so you do know when these free videos drop. Let's jump right into it. The first game, 3:30 Eastern matchup. My Buckeyes are in action. Ohio State versus Washington. The Huskies, an 8.5-point dog. Feels kind of disrespectful for a team that is so strong in the red zone. Explosive offensively, but what will they be able to do on Ohio State's defense? This defense has been so solid. Now we know Jim Knowles, the defensive coordinator, left during the summer. Matt Patricia does seem to have stepped into this role nicely and have this team ready for any competition he's going to face. So let's look at how Ohio State got here. We'll then look at how Washington has done thus far. And then I'll give you my picks in this, and then we're going to talk 2 other games. So looking at the Buckeyes, week 1, they got the win over Texas. They did allow Arch Manning to get a touchdown in there on that nice drive at the end, but this defense came out so solid. In the last 2 weeks, Ohio State just destroyed Grambling and Ohio by a combined score of 107-9. They looked phenomenal defensively and offensively. Julian Sayin, I love what we're seeing out of him. Julian Sayin's offensive line has given him the protection. Last week, he was sacked once and he had 8 pressures, but this kid can sling that ball, and we just need him to find Jeremiah Smith out there. Jeremiah Smith is a huge target out there for Ohio State, and Julian Sayin getting him the ball is exactly what he's been able to do thus far on the season. Jeremiah Smith has 332 receiving yards and 4 total touchdowns. Now, on the other side, you do have Tate as well. He's already had 219 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns. So you have strength in the wide receiver role. And then you also look at the running back room here for Ohio State. They have 2 solid running backs, and we're yet to see who that number 1 running back is. Bo Jackson, the freshman, he's ran for already 217 yards in just the 2 games that he's played. You're going to see him get work. And then you also look at CJ Donaldson. He seems to be the running back that comes in on those, 3rd and 2. He's going to get those power drives that you need him to power through those lines on short yardage. And I talked about it off the top. The Buckeyes defense is outstanding. They've only allowed an average of 5.3 points per game, but this is going to be the biggest test Ryan Day and the Ohio State Buckeyes have faced thus far on the season coming into Washington. The Washington Huskies have been so explosive in the red zone. Electric offense out there. Now, if the Huskies are to pull off the upset, it's because they don't turn this ball over. They've only turned it over once thus far this season. The passing game has been completely on point, with Desmond Williams Jr. completing right around 75% of those 3rd downs. You look at him on the season, he's a dual threat quarterback, you guys, underrated in my opinion. 73% completion rate for 778 yards, 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions on the season. And he's also rushed 2 in with his legs for 220 rushing yards. And then when we look at the run game for them as well, they have Coleman. Now, Coleman has been outstanding. So you've got an explosive duel here in the running game with Desmond Williams as well as Coleman. I'm looking for both of them to be able to have success. Now, when we look at Washington coming into this one, they had that dominant performance versus UC Davis and Washington State. Beating their rival, Washington State, they were able to win that one 59-24. And entering the 4th quarter, it was close, you guys. It was a 31-24 game, but we did see Washington pull off 28 unanswered points to run away with it and get the win. I'm looking here, even though I know in their last game, Washington really exploded in that 4th quarter. I'm looking for them to be able to keep it tight with Ohio State to start. There was so many games last season that I was stressing the Ohio State Buckeyes late into those games, and then they were able to pull it out, get the win, but sometimes not the cover. I do think Washington in the first half is where you want to look. Looking at the Washington Huskies in the first half, +4.5. is coming in at -110. Now, could the Buckeyes pull away after in the second half, late in the fourth? Absolutely, this team could. With how strong this defense is and how they're looking with Julian saying moving that ball, I do think they have every possibility of winning this one to double digits, but I don't know if I'm willing to put my money there. I think the best bet is just to look at Washington in the first half to keep this tight, plus the 4.5 at -110. Okay, now let's look at the matchup, the clash of the Big Ten, 7:30 Eastern. We will see Oregon go into Penn State. What is Oregon going to be able to do in this game? We know this team has been complete beast mode to start the season. Penn State's laying 3.5 in this. We've got a total of 51.5. You got to expect Penn State's defense to come out really sound and find a way to stop Moore out there. Moore for Oregon has been able to complete right around 75% of his passes thus far this season, but this is such a hostile environment here in Penn State that I think he's going to struggle. It's a young team. They're out there on the road, and it's also a whiteout game for Penn State at night. I think this is going to be a game where Penn State dominates. Now, for them to dominate, Drew Aller needs to find a way to move that ball deep through the air. I really do believe it. He's had those struggles getting the ball deep. I do think he's going to rely a lot on his running back, Nicholas Singleton. Nicholas Singleton, the running back, has a prop of 95.5 rushing and receiving yards, and I'm going to go there. I think we'll see some short passes off to him, as well as him be able to get that work on the ground. Nicholas Singleton, over 95.5 rushing and receiving, coming in at -112. But like I said, Drew Aller has been sound for this team averaging 44 points per game on the season, but we're just not seeing those big explosive plays out of them. But you look at Penn State at home, how strong they've been able to be under Franklin. This team is 8-1 straight up and 7-2 against the spread as a home favorite of 7 or less under Franklin. I love that. They're coming off a bye as well. Off a bye under Franklin, this team is 14-10 against the spread. So I think they're going to be able to come out and get things done, but they can't settle for threes. They have to be able to finish those drives. If they can't finish those drives, we could see Oregon pull off the outright upset. Where am I going to go? I think Penn State defensively is what you want to bet on. You want to bet on this defense to really shut down Oregon, especially in the first half. Oregon's team total, it is low in the first half. It's 12.5. I will take that to the under. It's coming in at -122. I just can't see them putting up the points easily on Penn State. And if they do, if they find a way, I think it's in the second half. You look at the defense here for Penn State, and they're only allowing 5.7 points per game under their new defensive coordinator, Jim Knowles. We were talking about him. He left Ohio State in the summer, coming over here to Penn State, and he had success versus Oregon last season in that second game after he was able to see what they had. I think he'll have success in this one right out of the gate here, getting his defense all over Dante Moore and shutting down the explosiveness that Oregon can be. So give me the first half, Oregon under 12.5 points in this game. Nicholas Singleton of Penn State for over his 95.5 rushing and receiving yards. And if you wanted a side here, I would lay the 3.5 with Penn State. I think they get it done. Okay, now let's talk the battle in the SEC between Alabama and Georgia. Georgia, a 2.5 point favorite in this one, moving off that key number of 3. We got a total of 53.5. Now, when we look at these teams versus each other, the last 5 meetings, Georgia hasn't been able to cover the spread in 4 of those, going 1-4 against the spread in the last 5 versus Alabama. They've also struggled to cover the spread at home in their last 5, unable to do so. But Alabama out there on the road hasn't been a team where you really want to back covering that spread either. Only 1-4 against the spread in their last 5 road games. When we look at Alabama, they have had that big loss thus far on the season to Florida State, in which they lost it by 2 touchdowns. Now, Georgia, a perfect 3-0 on the season, coming in off a bye. They had the great win versus Tennessee. Their quarterback Gunnar Stockton has seen 31 pressures and 106 dropbacks. The majority of the pressure is coming on the right side of his offensive line. They need to do a better job at giving him the protection if they want to win and cover this one. On the other side of the ball, we do see Tyler Simpson for Alabama. He's been solid, and I do think his passing game is going to be able to have a high completion percentage in this matchup here versus Georgia, who has struggled against the pass thus far on the season. Give me Tyler Simpson over 265.5 passing yards. He's got an adjusted completion rate on the season of 82%. He's thrown 9 touchdowns. He's behind a solid offensive line, and their ability to convert on third down has been great thus far this season. Now, there's a couple players returning here for Alabama. Their running back, Jam Miller, will be back. He had 7 touchdowns last season. And then defensive lineman Tim Keenan is back in the lineup as well. So I do think we're going to see success out of both of these teams. I do think we're going to see the points coming in this game, but I'm going to look at the first half. I could see the second half slowing down a little bit. Give me the first half over 27.5 points. That's coming in at plus 122. I do think if we get that first half over the 27.5 at plus 122, if that is cashing, I think we're going to see this total inflate into the 60s. Once the total inflates into the 60s for me, you guys, I will be coming back in on an under for the full game. I'm not going to touch the 53.5 straight off the bat, but that is where I would be looking. If we hit 61-62 in this game after that first half, I will be betting that under. But you guys, all the best in all of your bets. Thanks so much for joining me here over on Picks and Parlays to talk out these 3 games. Make sure you hit that subscribe notification button over here on YouTube so that you do know when all of these free videos drop. All the best in all of your bets, you guys. Make sure you head on over to Picks and Parlays as well for all the expert handicappers top slates. Bye, guys.